Good evening and welcome to the Manchester City podcast. Here we are to talk about the love of our new club. Richard, you're a Blue Moon man, aren't you now?
Always have been, always will be.
So pleased he's moved there because I've literally been living a lie for the last
Yeah, I've just been
however many
waiting to
episodes.
change my allegiance. I mean, there's enough seats there, so we'll definitely get a ticket. So
Mate, you
might
can
as well just go and support him.
take your family and friends down there as well.
Yeah.
There's loads of spare seats. But seriously, good evening and welcome to the Villa Pod podcast. Of course, we're not going to move our allegiance and start supporting Manchester City. However, we can't have a podcast today without discussing the main transfer activity at Aston Villa, which was unfortunately the departure of Jack Grealish.
Yes, mate. I mean, there's been so much talk over the last, well, you could say over the last sort of 2 years, really, but
Yep.
particularly over the last sort of 3 or 4 weeks. And the Willy won't he? We spoke a lot about it on the last episode. This is our 40th, by the way, our 40th episode. So
I was at a
it's been a
40th.
pleasure.
Yeah, I was at
Yeah,
a 40th birthday party today. I should have stole the balloons.
yeah,
And
yeah. But obviously it was a Willy won't he for the last sort of 2 weeks, and just been all over the papers. The bookies have been hedging their bets. One day it's odds on he's leaving. One next day it's odds on he's staying.
yep.
And we gave our sort of points on the last episode about what we thought and the pros and the cons, and gave it a little bit from his point of view, but also put across the points that still lent towards sort of staying and being a part of what Villa are. But I think the decisions had been made quite a while ago, and it all came to light on Thursday when it was announced. And yeah, I can't say anything else. I'm extremely disappointed in the whole episode, to be honest. And obviously players have left Villa a lot, and players will continue to leave Villa. But I just felt that this would obviously, we'll have a final word on it in a bit. I'll get your thoughts before I sort of give my last thoughts. But yeah, I thought this one would be different, and I thought he'd at least give us another year or two
Well,
to see to see what could be done at Villa.
it's the hope that kills you, isn't it? It's the hope that kills you. And a lot of stuff has come out since, Villa trying to get deals done with Real Madrid, Man United, the finger of the financial fair play being pointed at Man City and how can they afford to sign someone for 100 million and then perhaps go after a Harry Kane for 150 million. Look, it's very easy sometimes to sit and chuckle at other clubs that lose their best players to Manchester City, and think, well, what are you moaning about? And I don't think either you or I are kind of bitter Aston Villa fans. Like, we get it. We go over to smaller clubs perhaps and take their players. And it's
yeah, we've done it with Norwich, and
yeah, and perhaps if we can get James Ward-Prowse, Southampton could be that smaller club that have fed Aston Villa, and then we're going to feed other teams. But it was the Roy the Rovers, scenario with Jack Grealish, and yeah, we both said that at the end of the last podcast we thought he was going to stay. Now it's come to light that an offer had been made. Man City apparently didn't know they'd hit the release clause figure. Perslow has come out and said we set a figure that we thought no club would pay, and it's, I don't know, like, as you say, it's been bubbling away for 2 years, but you still can't prepare yourself for it. I think I've spoken on this podcast before. So I felt like a proud dad when Jack Grealish ran out for England. And I can't compare his attachment to Aston Villa in the modern era to anyone other than maybe a Steven Gerrard. And you just thought that love that both, Dean Smith has for Jack, that the fans have for Jack, it was like there was so much glue that could clearly keep Jack at Aston Villa. And it was a bit heartbreaking, and it's not going to be nice seeing him run out for Man City, but as is football, quite quickly we'll get over it. and we'll start chanting other people's names. And I'm sure, I've heard a few Villa fans last week that said, I'm sure, he'll be back at some point, and after a while the dust will settle and people just won't care if he comes back or not. I think he's been a fantastic servant to Aston Villa Football Club, and I think he deserves his opportunity to go and play Champions League football. And I think it might be really, really kind of interesting if his signing led to the financial fair play penalty that banned Man City from playing Champions League football for 2 years.
Somehow I don't think that'll happen, but I mean, to me, I can't move on from it as well as you can, and people obviously I've tweeted from our kind of podcast tweet, the statement that he made on Thursday and all that, fluff and rubbish basically that wasn't written by him. That is all these, people need to get in their minds that footballers, when they put these heartfelt messages out on Twitter or on Instagram, they're not writing it. They are not writing them. So you can believe what you're reading.
Just like the tweets that go out from the Villa Pod podcast. Yeah, I am writing them.
Yeah, they're not writing them. So when he says things like, and you can buy into it all you want and everything like that, fine. Last season, 10 months ago, he's signing a 5-year contract. He's saying all this stuff. If you believe in that, or you're not believing that, then you take the statement that he's made 2 days ago with the exact same attitude. Like he's after his career, which is fine, but just have some integrity and be honest about that. You've been offered a better deal, more money to work with a better manager at a better club. Just say that. Like, don't sugarcoat it and say all this stuff about how it was your club and your city 10 months ago. You've been auditioning to play for Man City for the last 2 seasons. That's basically what you've been doing, or that's what it looks like. You've been, and the timing of this, where we have now, maybe we haven't quite caught up with Grealish's ability as a footballer, but we are certainly on the way to catching up with his ability as a footballer. So, if he'd have left when we didn't go up against Fulham in the playoffs, everybody was like, look, you're way too good for us. Go and play for Tottenham. Go and do it. Yeah, you're too good for us. Fine. If he'd have left when we just stayed up, when he's kept us up on the last day of the season in 2019-20 season, fine. Absolutely not a problem. Go with our blessing. You're too good for us. You're way too good for us. But now, he was, as arguably, if he hadn't got injured last season and been out for 3 months, obviously it's not his fault. But we weren't playing well as he got injured, and then we didn't win hardly any games when he was injured.
It's ironic, isn't it? That that he's left the club because of the position we end up in, and it was down to him not playing that put us there.
Exactly, and you're thinking, well, if you'd have been here, you would have been we arguably could have been challenging for a Europa League spot.
Yeah.
And yes, we've replaced, and Perzo's come out of his statement with, we had to look at 3 types of player that would replace Jack because he's irreplaceable. But I think part of that is a little bit of saving face, and the Ings announcement was fantastic, but it was, it's very well done by Villa. It was done to kind of placate some of the feeling, which was very, very well done. But we could have been making those signings with Jack without any problem.
Yeah.
And it's really leaving a sour taste in my mouth about how football is and how he's treated us. And yes, he may go on to win trophies. Yes, he may go on to do better. But to me, you said it about the Royal Rovers and those kind of things. And I think I listen a lot to Jordan Peterson, and I read a lot of his stuff. And he talks about kind of myths and heroes and archetypes. And there's this thing with Grealish and Villa where he was the hero, he was the archetype of Villa. And there's something in the balance of him going to Man City that just doesn't quite sit right. And when he maybe looks on in years to come, and his grandkids and his kids are saying, Dad, why did you go to Man City? Why, Villa have gone on to do this or do that. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But there'll be that nagging part of him that'll wish that he was a part of what we could go on to become, and he could have been specifically responsible for that. Whereas with Man City, he is going to be a part of a bigger machine, and his contribution won't be as high as it would have been at Villa.
No, of course you wouldn't. And I think I used an example that you can either be the one lifting the cup or be the one at the back of the queue in the tracksuit because you didn't get on. And I'll see that being the difference for Jack. If he'd stayed at Aston Villa or he'd gone to Man City, look, again, I'll go back to the point I made. It's the hope that kills you. You put these people on pedestals and you think it's never going to happen to our Jack. Not him like, God, you cut him and he bleeds claret and blue. And it's just bollocks, right? He's out for himself. Of course he is. And also,
you can't blame. I don't blame him for that. Like, he's a footballer and it's his profession. It's just,
yeah.
I can't. Yeah, it is what it is now. It's done, man. It's done. I've said my piece. I've said it numerous times. It's like you say, we move on, and the 2 or 3 signings that we've made are excellent signings, and there's an argument to say that. Well, there's definitely an argument to say that Smith will be forced into using other players and finding a different way of playing. But on the other side, there's an argument to say we may come out stronger off the back of it.
Yeah, I think, look, if we were to listen to the 39 podcasts that we've done so far, there will be a constant theme about our adulation, I suppose, for Jack Grealish. There was always a concern, and you touched on it when he got injured. We just fell apart. Everything went through Jack Grealish, the tactics, the formation, our attacks, everything went through him. And for most games, he was unstoppable. We were doing well before Christmas. I think couple Jack Grealish's injury with the COVID shutdown of Villa, I think that really put a massive speed bump in the road for us. But yeah, Dean Smith now has to kind of work probably a little bit harder than he's done in the past to figure out how he's going to get this team singing again. And he's been blessed to have certainly the best player in the Championship at the time when he had him, and one of the best players in the Premier League over the last 2 seasons, that in the first season saved us, on a number of occasions, and the season just gone really kind of got us going and helped us climb up the table. But you can only hope that we're going to be a better team. It's not one person doesn't make a team. And if you now look at some of the depth that we have, some of the youngsters are on another year. I know Louis Barry's gone out to Ipswich, will be fantastic for him. He'll get some real minutes. But yeah, I think it's whether Ings signing was to save a bit of face, whether it was to try and take the spotlight off Jack Grealish. I know that he was done, I think, within a day. And perhaps they knew that Jack was walking out the door, and they just asked for a bit of time before the news was leaked. But I find it difficult to talk about new signings without thinking about how they would play alongside Jack Grealish, and how and how brilliant they may have made our team with him alongside them. It's going to be tricky for Dean Smith. It really is. I think we're going to have to change formation. But then some of the signings we've got have been signed to play as a Traore or an El Ghazi or a Leon Bailey. I mean, are they playing as out and out wingers? I don't know. Is he going to push Watkins wide to play wide left where Jack was playing? I mean, we can certainly talk about the new people that have come in, but I think we need to discuss how we feel we might line up. And I don't think that the pre-season's given us any real kind of view into what we will look like against Watford. There was a lot of changes in the game's day, as there tends to be in pre-season. But when you get to the last pre-season game, it's almost, you think this is my first 11. And if you look at it, well, I had the team in front of me earlier. I don't know. I mean, look, Lewis is going to be out for a couple of weeks because, and let's give him a shout out now. He won an Olympic gold, which is
Yeah,
absolutely,
fantastic, and he played a massive part in it as well. So
yeah,
full credit to Douglas Luiz, and played a lot of football the last year or so, well, the last 18 months. So yeah, absolutely fantastic for him.
So he's going to be back for a while. So you had McGinn and Nakamba starting, and then I don't really the front four that we had. It looks like he might still try and play the formation that he's used to playing, and I can't see Ings being able to play anywhere else
Yeah.
other than the focal centre forward.
Well, I think well, to go on to the pre-season point, and then we'll talk and then the kind of squad depth, and we'll talk about the signing of Ings and touch on Tuanzebe as well. But the squad side of things is, I think what it gives us is depth and options. But the whole pre-season is I think it's the same for a lot of teams. It's just been so disjointed.
Yeah.
So, just not being able to play certain players. And I've said on the last episode, a lot of time it's building up fitness, it's integrating young players and integrating formations. But today we saw, a 4-4-2 for the main part of it. And then we saw like the 4-3-3. Hoping is that what we've been crying out for over the last year, 2 years, is that ability to slip into different formations depending on who we're playing against, or depending on a situation in a game. There's no reason why a substitution couldn't be made. We could start a game at 4-4-2, and then a substitution can be made to have a real impact player come on to go into a 4-3-3, or vice versa. Or even, I don't know, there's been talk of like a 3-5-2 formation, or a 3-4-3 formation. There's lots there. I still think that. So in terms of the front players, Watkins, Ings, Traore, who's a little bit rusty today, Al Ghazi, Bailey, when he comes in, he's going to take a few weeks to get up to speed. But there's some real options there. And then Philogene Bidace, who's done fantastically well over obviously mentioned him on the last episode. He's done fantastically well over pre-season. So I'm hoping that gives us options. But yeah, you're totally right in terms of, I think it's probably, I don't think pre-season has really answered too many questions.
No.
Too many questions that Smith has had. I think the first kind of 3 or 4 games are going to be really testing those formations and those options out. And it's probably going to be the same for a lot of teams. I mean, the Charity Shield game yesterday, I mean, Man City were playing like 2 17-year-olds up front or something. Yeah. So, it's the same across the board for a lot of teams, and teams haven't even brought in the number of their signings. I'm trying to think of, Everton haven't really made many signings, and Tottenham are trying to throw some money around. And there's lots of teams that haven't got anywhere near what they would want. So I think in some ways we're in a pretty good position in the fact that we've signed, Buendia, I didn't mention there as an option, and we've signed and Ings has come straight in today and scored. Obviously Bailey will need to be integrated, but yeah, I think it's I don't think all of the questions have been answered. I think where we are quite lucky is that back five is a settled back five. And anything in front of that, you can work around with that balance and that. And obviously we'll talk about Ings in a minute, but you've got like a proven Premier League goal scorer who can sniff out a chance from nothing, or can get you a goal when you really need. I'm still worried about that central midfield area, though. I'm still not 100% sure on it.
It's interesting. I mean, going back to the point you made earlier, that not many clubs have gone out to market. I think Everton have done a little bit of business. They've got Damari
Gray, yeah.
They've got Andros Townsend.
Yeah.
Well, Crystal Palace have done a fair bit, but nothing that would make you kind of sit up and pay attention to it. I think Vieira's got quite a big job on his hands, and I think is it Conor Gallagher's gone there from Chelsea and a few other players. But I don't know. Like I look at Villa's signings, and I almost think look, Perslow's going to come out, and there's a little anything that comes out of the Villa now, it's spin, right? Because and look, I must say though, I think Villa have handled themselves very professionally throughout it, but it's still spin, right? When Dia was signed to play with Jack Grealish, if we only got the offer from Man City a week ago, apparently, if what we have read is true, Buendia was signed as soon as the window was open, a month ago, 5 weeks ago?
We were talking about that as being the Barkley experiment didn't work.
Yeah,
so he was the signing to kind of be the kind of antidote to Ross Barkley, to be that extra option that Jack Grealish needed.
And I get it, right? You're going to look at all scenarios, and you're going to sit there if you're Dean Smith and you sat down with Perslow, right? What if Jack leaves? But you're not going to go and spend 40 million on a what if. You're not going to go and get a Buendia just in case Jack Grealish leaves. As you say, you're going to go and get him because Ross Barkley didn't work out, and we need someone in that position. But Jack Grealish leaving probably wasn't the reason we signed Danny Ings. But I think
I think it sped it up. But I think I think all of those signings, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think all of those signings were done with the view, like you said, it's so difficult to think of any of those players playing without Jack. I think they were all signed to be weapons that we could use along with him.
Yeah.
Which is why the rumours of like the Cantwells and the one or two other players don't seem to be going away, because I just think I don't see them as being the three players that were specifically earmarked to be the options that could have been used, that are now used for Grealish. Obviously they've said, we've got the pace of Leon Bailey, the creativity of Buendia, and the finishing and running in behind power of Danny Ings, which they've all got. I'm not kind of buying that as being the kind of prototypes of player that were there to replace Jack. I'm not buying that, because they would have only complemented what he brings.
Yeah, and I'm now interested to see what happens with Watkins. I think, look, we flirted with the idea of getting Tammy Abraham, and there was a clear kind of lack of quality on the bench for strikers, and maybe Wesley will come good this season, but I've seen talk of him going, and now Ings has arrived. I think either Keenan Davies or Wesley has to go. I think
Wesley will go. Keenan's out for a couple of months, so you're probably talking January till like he would be eligible to leave on a loan or whatever. So I think if anyone's to go, it'll be Wesley on loan.
So let's say Wesley's gone, and you've got Keenan Davies, and you've got Watkins, and you've got Ings. Ings isn't going to come along at this stage in his career to play second fiddle to Ollie Watkins. So do you? Well, let me ask you the question. You mentioned earlier that you still worry about our central midfield, and I agree. I think Cantwell shouldn't be the type of player we go after. She should be an enforcer to play in the middle, but Dean Smith picks up the phone and says, "Richard, I've seen the video. I've seen the work that you've done at Garforth Town. That victory against Chester City, was it?
Yes.
No. Was it Chester City?
It was.
Good knowledge. I've done my research. It was second to none. I mean, to be fair, jokes aside, if any of the listeners haven't seen the Garforth Chester City game, the quality of finishing in that game is unreal. Get it on YouTube. It's brilliant. But Dean Smith, in this world that I now live in, phones you up and says, "Richard, who should I play? What should I do?"
For the first game, or for tactically in general? Because I think I've said before, I've said it already. I think that in general, I think it's good to have all these players. Because
I agree.
We can't play this 4-3-3 every single game. We just become way too one-dimensional. If I'm playing the first game, I think some of the indication of the way we started today gives us, I think the back five is as is.
Yeah.
And I would be tempted to play this in the first game anyway. So yeah, if it was me, and Smith was asking me, which is very surreal. But yeah, But like, yeah, the back five: Martinez, Cash, Mings, Konsa, Target. At the moment, it would be McGinn and Nakamba in central midfield. I thought McGinn had a pretty decent game today,
Yep.
to be honest with you. I thought he was
Looking
excellent.
sharp, yeah.
Yeah. And I think it will be. I think it will be that, what partnership up top, Ings and Watkins. I think Ings comes deep for the ball really well, and like his movement's really quick, and then he'll make those little later runs into the box, where he kind of arrives in the box, which was excellent for his first goal for the club. And then out wide again is where we're really, really looking, because you're asking those wide players to do like a left and right midfielder job as opposed to a left and right winger job, unless we're going to be like really attacking down that wing. So that doesn't necessarily suit a Traore to do that. So I think Philogene Badace has played himself into it.
Okay.
I think he's played himself in, unless Buendia's fit. If Buendia's fit, he goes Buendia, and then he goes Al Ghazi.
Right. Okay.
But if Buendia's not fit, I think he goes Philogene Badace.
But then is Buendia an out-and-out winger?
No, he isn't. But I think he'll drift in, and then I think you've got that. You drift in from the right, and you've got Cash to overlap.
Yeah, I think he works on the right-hand side.
So I think that'll be a nice little balance. I think where he'll be a bit annoyed is he hasn't been able to kind of play that formation and build that relationship up with Cash as much as he would have wanted to.
Yeah.
But that's what I think will happen. I thought Traore came on and he was as is, but I think his rhythm was a bit off today. I don't think he wanted to do really well. He wanted to do stuff, but his rhythm was off, and he probably needs a couple of games off the bench, a bit like what he did when he came in from the cold last season. Yeah. And then once he got 4 or 5 sort of games under his belt of getting some minutes, then he was kind of firing. So, but he's a brilliant weapon to have off the bench. But obviously we've got the other issue where Watkins had that shot, and I thought he just clipped the bottom of the player's boot and hurt his foot. But the rumours I'm hearing is it's a thigh and knee issue. Like when he's hit the shot, okay. Maybe when you sometimes you hit a shot and your leg's not quite warmed up, and you feel that twinge in your thigh muscle.
Yeah,
I think it could be something like that. So if it's strained it or something like that, that could be a couple of weeks. In which case, he'd revert back to that 4-3-3 formation.
Yeah, I think he will. Look, he's not going to have signed Ings to be a backup striker, and he's not going to drop Watkins. And I don't think after the season that Watkins has had, he can push him wide. Although he can play there, it's a waste of a. It
is, and if he wants to do that in the sort of medium to long term, he might do it. But you haven't had enough time to work out the positional movements and the fluidity to have that, because he'd be wanting to cut inside. He'd be like, if Ings drops off for the ball, he'll have his 2 wide men making diagonal runs in behind. But that's all got to be worked out on the training pitch. You can't do that this week and expect it all to come off, again against Watford. So I think he'll go that 4-4-2. And it wouldn't be a bad formation to play against a Watford, maybe.
No, I don't think so. But you mentioned a formation, and look, with strength in depth, you've got variety, right? You can bring players off the bench and you can change formations. But I don't, and it all depends how attacking, targeting Cash can or will be. But almost that 4-3-3.
Is that the new detective series? That's
yeah, it's on the BBC. He was on BBC Two for a couple of seasons, and he's got a few followers, and they've pushed it on. Where you might have a Nakamba, Lewis, McGinn midfield 3, and you can then maybe play a Watkins and an Ings a bit further apart, and a Buendia just behind them, so that they're not pushed out to the wings, but it opens up some space for Buendia. And I think I think Smith has got to try and accommodate those three players. And I think by pushing Buendia wide, yeah, he might drift in. But again, like,
that was the predominant position he played for Norwich, by the way.
on the
He
wing.
wasn't. Yeah, he was a
Okay.
wide player that drifts in and just drifts into the game. He wasn't necessarily a number 10 all the time, like a traditional number 10
Central
in
10.
behind. Yeah. So
We'll
yeah,
wait and see. I think the biggest headache we had last season was the lack of substitutions that we made, and perhaps that came down to the lack of people we had on the bench that could change a game. And now we've got some players. You know, I think that there's still probably, well, there was a new face announced today. Axel's come back, which I think is a fantastic signing. I'm surprised he hasn't broken through at United. I think he can do a really good job for us, whether it be the right side of centre half or it's right back. I think he always comes on the ball. He's got lots of pace. I'm really pleased with that.
fantastic. If only the fact that we can now bring that chant back, the Tuanzebe chant, which is a fantastic song.
Well, talking of chants, I've got one here for you. I know that you like to steal them and then call them your own, but I don't know if you've heard this one, but let me get it. Someone sent it to me the other day, and it goes along the lines of, this is it, isn't it? I've lost it now. Where is it?
The anticipation is killing me here, Richard.
I know.
While you're getting that,
you save me a second.
He's a fantastic signing. I think it gives us 4 quality centre halves, which he's been wanting. And as you say, he can cover at right back. So you've got like Ashley Young there for left back with Target and also right back, but you've also got Tuanzebe at right back as well. And also, I don't think he will, but he could fill in in a defensive midfielder position. But yeah, it's a really good signing. I don't know why he hasn't broken through at United, because a lot of United fans, when Eric Bailly wasn't playing well, Maguire was having a bit of a tough time, and Victor Lindelof was struggling as well. We're all crying out for Tuanzebe to play, and I know he's been in and out of injuries, but he was fairly consistent playing with Villa, and that was obviously a similar thing with Mings as well. He was out a lot with Bournemouth and came to Villa and didn't miss a game, and Tuanzebe missed 1 or 2, but didn't miss many at all, and was obviously a huge reason why we got promoted. It's again though, it puts that pressure on Konsa and Mings, because they've now got 2 quality players sort of pushing them to start, which is what he wants. And the options, like you said, on the bench, you look at who didn't play today. You've got Morgan Sanson, who's hardly been talked about. Buendia didn't play. Luiz is to come back. I don't know what's happening with Freddie Gilbert, but he didn't play. Tuanzebe didn't get on today. So you've got 5 or 6 players there that haven't played today that will play some part. And Chukwuemeka came on today and looked really good. I wasn't that impressed with Ramsey. I haven't been particularly impressed with him in pre-season. I think he probably needs to go out on loan somewhere. But again, a squad player that could be used if he doesn't. So yeah, we've definitely got some options there. Have you found that chant?
I found a chant. In my head, it sounded good, and well, I'll tell you.
In real life, it's not very good.
No, in real life, I think the yeah.
Is it about Axel?
No, I will tell you what it is, because there'll be people out there that, someone listening may have even written it, so I'll do it. It says, Jack has gone to City. We tried to make him start. Buendia, Ings and Bailey, we've signed the fucking lot. Matty Cash at right back, Martinez in the sticks, Villa's pushing for Europe, and we're on the fucking piss. So that's the song. So
you didn't even have the right tune.
I know. I should stick to talking, not singing. What I'll do is
I did like that version of it, but it's still not good as Michael's.
No, it's
mine.
Not.
Mine.
So,
Michael's.
Yeah, Michael's. We'll have to get him on at some point to clear up the confusion. Yeah, like there's a lot of names that you mentioned there that didn't feature today, and I think there's some exciting youngsters that can come through. Again, someone like a Ramsey, this is a big season for him now, and I don't necessarily think he needs to go on loan. I think he had a fair few minutes last season. I think he's just got to step up now. It's not like he had a couple of substitution appearances. This is his chance to step up. Sanson, who you mentioned, I've not heard anything about Conor Hourihane going out anywhere, and he got some minutes today.
Yeah.
I don't think he's good enough for what we're trying to achieve.
No, I think he will. We've got another. Is it 3 weeks of the window? I think.
Yeah.
And then I think the I don't know if this is the case, but I know the Championship loan window used to last the Football League loan window used to last for longer than the deadline. So it could be that he'll go on loan somewhere, but yeah, he's still around at the moment though, like you say.
But we got options. Ashley Young scored today.
Yeah, he's looking really sharp, man. He's looking really sharp.
He is.
There's one touch that he brought the ball down. It was a fantastic touch. And he played him in that sort of left midfield, left wing area. So
yeah, I can't
he's
see
so
him.
Versatile.
Well, I can't see him coming to the Villa being happy to sit on the bench, being a backup for targets. So he's got some good headaches, let's say. We said earlier that, we've lost Jack Grealish, but we should be a better rounded team now because of the signings that we've made, but only if the jigsaw pieces fit together. And
absolutely, yeah.
We need a strong start, and I think getting all the players to gel together is going to be problematic. And there's going to be some tough games. Watford are going to be fighting for their lives from day one. We've got Brentford, Newcastle, and we've got Brentford
Newcastle home, then Brentford. Yeah. So on one hand, it's a massive opportunity to get some good points on the board.
Yeah. Some weaker teams in the league.
On paper, yeah. On the other hand, it's a massively missed opportunity if you don't convert that chance, because obviously there's going to be times when we're playing tough teams, and we talked about this last season about kind of big performances against some of the big teams and then kind of throwing it away and not being clinical enough against the so-called weaker teams, which ultimately left us in the position where we finished.
I absolutely agree. You look at the last two games of last season when we beat Spurs and Chelsea, and you start building perhaps a little bit of momentum, and you can compete against those teams, but it's the losses to a Burnley or that really
Sheffield
hit
United.
us. Yeah, the 1-0 loss to Sheffield United when we were woeful. They're the games that we've got to turn those against Sheffield United. We need to turn those into at least draws, and some of those draws into victories, because there's going to be a lot of competition in the league. And it was a funny league. If you last season, I look at whether West Ham can continue at the level they were at. Probably not, and they've not really bought many reinforcements. I think Everton are going to go through a period of change again. Gone, it seems, to the days of the big signings, and there's probably a few wages that Benitez needs to shift off the books. Liverpool can't go through the same injury issues that they had last season. I think Spurs will get pulled down into into a little bit. I think that they've got some Nuno's got some real headaches to sort out there.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, again, we say it could be a really exciting season for us, and yes, there's some really good signings that have been made. I mentioned the other day about the level of signing is around about that Europa League. Tuanzebe played in the Europa League last season. Leon Bailey's played Europa League, Champions League. Sanson's played Europa League, Champions League. Danny Ings is an England international.
Yep.
We've already got Watkins as an England international. We've got Mings as an international. We've got Martinez as a Copa America winner, Argentina #1 goalkeeper. So we've now got a nucleus of a very, very good international.
Well, Douglas Luiz just won
quality side. Exactly, gold. And Douglas Luiz just won Olympic gold. So we've got the nucleus of a very, very big, very, very good, and you're only adding names to that,
Yeah.
that are going to come in. So it's a massive opportunity to knock on the door of that top six, compete with the likes of Leicester maybe and Tottenham, and really sort of gate crash that party. But the games, we'll do a proper preview. It's going to be slightly different next episode with getting some other fans views on what they think and how they think we might line up. But yeah, it's a massive opportunity to try and really put some points on the board and try and put some real pressure on those top teams. And and hopefully the Grealish saga and the situation, I don't know if the players will be that bothered, but
No, I don't think
maybe
so.
it'll galvanize that team to kind of really come together and show what they're made of.
Listen, I get it. I think they're all professionals. They won't be affected by it, but I can imagine that's something that Dean Smith will use to his advantage.
Mm-hmm.
He's left us.
Yeah.
It's us against the world. He's gone to go and play Champions League football. And look, don't get me wrong, Man City they're the Galacticos of the Premier League, and they're going to take some catching. I struggle to agree, and I don't know what your thoughts are on this, but I struggle to agree that Pep Guardiola is the best manager in the world. I think you could, if you were given almost £1 billion at Garforth, I think you could probably get him to win a Champions League. It's unreal the amount of money that he's spent, and not achieved a Champions League victory. With I know he's achieved it elsewhere.
Yeah, of course. It's a funny one. Because he's such an obsessive. You can tell he's got such an obsessive sort of personality and way about coaching. So you can understand why people want to work with him and why people want to go there. And he does improve players. I was having a debate with someone the other night about how much he's improved Raheem Sterling, and I'm still saying there's still a lot of Raheem Sterling that in my opinion, needs to improve. But anyway, he does improve players, and but there's still that nagging part where it's like, you've rebuilt a defense twice with 250 million a time, and it's like, how many more chances do you need to get it right? Someone like Fergie won the league and then rebuilt the team to continually win the league, and it was kind of like a seamless thing. If he lost this league one season, he'd win it again, and he won multiple Champions Leagues, and he built a character in his team that no one else could. And Brian Clough, if we're going back further than that, won 2 Champions Leagues with a little tiny City team in Nottingham Forest, without all that money. So to kind of, it's a different type of great, I would say, in terms of he's an obsessive coach who has a specific particular way of playing that he gets his players to play, and in that sense he is one of the best. But in terms of kind of an overall overarching manager / coach to I don't know, to kind of galvanize a city and galvanize people, I'm galvanize players, I'm not 100% sure he can lay claim to that, but I'm sure there's lots of City fans that will disagree with that. And
and listen,
he's still a fantastic manager. There's nothing to say that, but it's difficult with the amount of money that he spent. Sorry, it does kind of think you've got to get that top prize when you spent so much money.
Yeah, and I think I'm just probably throwing a little bit of shit at Jack Grealish's words. I was shocked to see how much it's spent and to still not get it right.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of managers in other positions that probably don't carry the kudos that Guardiola does, that would be out on their ear, for spending a third of that money and not achieving. I think I saw a stat. It was something like, you mentioned they had 2 17-year-olds Man City starting for them yesterday, but it was something like £280 million of money had been spent on the players that started that game, and 100 million or 280 or it was it was either 280 or 320, and then 200 million pounds of players came off the bench. And he said that Leicester City's squad was put together for 170 million pounds. But then I also read a stat that Aston Villa over the last 5 seasons have spent 318 million pounds on players, and Burnley in their whole existence have only spent 170 million pounds on players. So like, goes back to that point I made earlier. We can moan about the Man Cities. I mean, I've had
pales into insignificance.
Yeah,
the money that
we're just in the food chain, right? And Man City is just another name that we can now dislike alongside your Man Uniteds or your Liverpools that have come and taken players off us. So I think that the signing of Ings, actually, just as a final thought on that signing, will add some real experience to our squad. And you look at it now, and you mentioned some of the internationals and the leaders and the quality that we've got. And I think Ings will make Watkins a better player.
Yeah, absolutely. You talk about ruthless finishing and being in the right place at the right time. Ings has got that, and and it's a great signing only for the fact that he won't score against us.
Well,
so,
yeah, there is that. Yeah, I know.
so yeah, it's a real, it was one of those kind of what the fuck moments when it just came up. I had to check that it was from the actual official Aston Villa Twitter page, because I was like, where has that come from? It was, we had that with Ross Barkley a bit last season, but that one was just out of the blue, completely out of the blue, and to even be thinking that we'd be an option for a Danny Ings to go, actually, I'll go to Aston Villa, because you'd have thought like Arsenal, Tottenham, like
someone
Leicester,
was a bit further
even going back
to
Liverpool, maybe, like, but to go to Villa and just do it like that is testament to kind of, I'm not even going to mention like buying into what we're doing, because it would, money would have talked and all that sort of stuff. But to be in the equation for him to say, actually, I do want to go to Aston Villa, says a lot for the progress that we've made. So let's hope. And as sorry, back to what you said about him making players better, definitely. In terms of like being ruthless, we saw a different Watkins when he came back from international duty. He was just a bit more sharper and a bit more wanting to, ruthless in terms of wanting to finish chances and things like that, and a bit more kind of conservative with his runs. So, hopefully they can hit it off with a real sort of lethal combination. And again, watching some of the highlights of Leon Bailey, he just looks fantastic. I know these really highlights clips you can make people look like world beaters, but he does really look a real exciting player. Buendia, we know his qualities, we know how good he is with the ball. So if we could get them off, and then Traore and El Ghazi come in as well with their stats and what they can do. So, with all those weapons, with all those options, let's really hope for that Smith can get the right balance and find the right mix, and I think we could be a real force.
No, I agree. I think, as I said, it's some good headaches for him to have, and he's now got to use his squad better than he's ever done, because I think I don't know a huge amount of what he did with Walsall. I know he did well with them, but Brentford, they were always a selling club. He'd strike a good balance, and then his top player of that season would get sold on. So he's now at a club where he can look at his bench and know some changes can be made, and it's about how well he can use them. We've seen how forget Ings improving Watkins, but we've seen how Smith has improved Watkins, how he's improved Mings, Konza. You go through that team, and he's Jack Grealish is another example of that. Credit where it's due. Dean Smith has taken a what was once a 3 million and Josh Onoa player and made him a £100 million player. And if you take your Villa supporters hat off and you if Purslow puts his business hat on, like, that's a phenomenal coach to have.
Absolutely.
And he's done it on a much smaller scale at Brentford, but we don't want to be a selling club. It's not about us turning 10 million pound players into 50 million pound players. It's about us getting into that top four. And to go back to the Grealish situation, and this will be my kind of final word on it. if you look at what Man City have had to do to get to where they are, they had certain players that became heroes for them. Yaya Toure,
Yeah, I think you mentioned
Company,
this.
Aguero. Like there's a spine there of 3 players that have gone, right, you're gonna add quality to us, but we're sticking. And Grealish just decided to twist, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
And look, I hope he gets everything he wants. I agree with what you said earlier around the words on his own, and if they were, then he wouldn't have left. And there's clearly a little bit of jealousy, bitterness that's running through most Villa fans at the moment. But we've got loads to be excited about. All those players you've mentioned, players that Sanson, even 2 years ago, saying we're going to have someone that's playing the Champions League come and play for us. Leon Bailey, I don't know how we've got him. Danny Ings, wow, it's just like, oh my God. And I still think there's a player or two that will be added to it. And I think, players will sit in a dressing room and look around and go, right, there's 3 or 4 game changers here, not just one, which
Absolutely,
was the case last season.
Yeah.
So we'll be back later on this week. We'll, as you say, we'll have a few views from Villa fans about what the first game and the season might look like. But I think we've put to bed our thoughts on Jack Grealish. And I think the next one is all about what we're now going to do and the excitement of the season.
100%, mate. 100%. And yeah, we'll be back. We'll be back probably Thursday. So it should be out Thursday night. If not, at latest Friday morning, ready for that new season. We're going to be doing a fantasy football league, fantasy Premier League, Villa Park Podcast League with some special prizes for the winner.
You've got a signed Jack Grealish shirt, got a signed Jack Grealish boots.
Jack Grealish pictures,
you found them at the back of Villa Park in a bin bag.
For anyone, when I release this on YouTube, we've got this Jack Grealish picture to give away. Yeah, all the old Jack Grealish goodies. No, seriously, we'll do a shirt, a Villa kit of the winner's choice, and we've got a few other bits, especially from AVFC prints, to give away. Not the Jack Grealish prints, although if people wanted them, happy days. And 1 or 2 other things, but we're definitely going to release that out possibly tonight, if not in the morning, with the details of the league to join. But it'd be great to get as many listeners on as possible. And just to say that we thank everyone as well for listening. We've smashed the 7,000 barrier. Good. So we're getting loads more followers on Twitter. We're well over 2,000 now on Twitter. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram as well at Villa Park Pod. I think we're up to about 300 followers on Instagram, but yeah, well over 2,000 on Twitter. So really want to keep pushing that followers and just interact with us. As I know you always say, Rich, about it's not about us just talking all the time. It's the comments we get from fans, and we'll get people's views, as I say, off of Twitter this week in terms of where they think we're going to finish this season, what they think we're going to start with on Saturday. What ups and downs are we going to go through this season? Who else do we think we might sign? So we'll be covering all that on the next episode. But yeah, just say a massive thanks to everyone for listening, everyone for supporting us. Please follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Villa Park Pod, and please join us on our fantasy Premier League football league this season.
And look, it's the 1st of August that we've ever done this podcast.
It is.
We started, December was it? No, it wasn't December. It was.
I think it was end of November.
Yeah. So this is all new to us at the start of the season. It's exciting, and I think it's a new day. It's a new dawn, and it's certainly going to be a new Aston Villa, isn't it? So that isn't a catchphrase, by the way, and I'm going to be using. It just happened to roll off the tongue. But look, from me, Richard Bartlett.
And me, Richard Sutherland.
Keep being Villa. Thanks for listening.
Good night.
Good night.